Hey everyone, this is Matt, and in today's video I have for you my deck profile for Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, the Attribute 4 Festival. So, I recently dropped my Adventures of series for my, not necessarily climb, but like my journey through the Attribute 4 Festival. Um, I went all the way to the end, got the certificate, took 44 wins. That's the minimum required number of wins to do that. So here's my deck list. Honestly, this festival was a breath of fresh air. Simply because I didn't have to deal with tier, because tier is just stupid. And yeah, I mean, y'all saw my adventures of videos where I was going up against tier. It was, they were easy wins, but it was still like obnoxious to deal with because of how incredibly long and boring their turns are. So yeah, so here we don't have to deal with that, and we played Umi Control. So the reason we played Umi Control is because of the decks that I enjoy, Eldritch, Labyrinth, Subterror, Hero, Dark Magician, etc., Flu. Umi Control was the deck with the fewest hits. In Subterror, we don't have access to Lord of the Heavenly Prison. We don't even have access to DPE. So basically, our boss monster there, we either rely on Guru or we possibly go into the Behemoth, which is fine. We also lose access to Elder Antientis and Cypher Moral Omega, the two best Dogmatic Punishment targets. Technically you can make it work with Wind Pegasus and the Skull Fossil Knight, but alas. So yeah, Subterror perfectly playable, but it just got hit the most on the ban list, right? For this festival, so I figured I'm just gonna play Umi Control, especially given that before I started this festival, I assumed that this festival would be very, very similar, and by this festival I mean the decks being played most prominently in this festival would be very, very similar to what was played in the Link Festival. Remember the Link Festival? That was mostly Marine Cess and Salamangreat, right? So yeah, I assumed it would be like that here because those are water and fire decks that are very popular and cheap to craft, right? And because of that, Subterror relies a lot on flipping cards face down, and guess what? You can't flip link monsters face down. So, going first, you can flip the materials face down before they link, but going second, it's annoying to deal with a number of link monsters when you can't flip them face down. So instead, I decided to just play Umi Control. Flu would have been perfectly fine. There was no M-Pen, but did have access to Ryza and other stuff. But Flu has just been gutted so many times that I just don't want to bother anymore. Anyway, so let's get into it. We're playing Umi Control. Despite the fact that Marine Cess was probably the most popular deck in this festival, Umi Control is still a great deck. One, because it's the better water deck. So Umi Control versus Marine Cess, unless you brick or they just draw everything they need, you'll probably win against Marine Cess most of the time if you know what you're doing. And against other decks, you'll win because you're Umi Control. So let's get into the core of the deck. So this is Umi Control Core. These are cards that I think you should have at the bare minimum to play this deck. So let's start with the main man himself, Ocean Dragon Lord Kairishin. So this is a 3-of. This is your boss monster. You want to turbo this guy out as quickly as possible. You want to see him in your opening hand as much as possible. So yeah, we're at 3. So yeah, just like unlike some other control decks where we kind of don't care what our opening hand is, and like all our opening hands are good, right? This Umi Control really requires you to have multiple, like it's kind of a combo-y control deck, right? Some will say it's a mid-range deck where you want to see like 2 or 3 pieces in your opening hand. Otherwise, your hand is like you can't build the board, period, right? So yeah. So because of that, we do break our 2-of rule a lot from other control deck videos that I've talked about. Back row videos, right? Trap decks. So yeah, we are running 3 copies of the Ocean Lord, Dragon Lord Kairishin. For those of you who are not aware, this card reads: while Umi's on the field, each player can only control one face-up non-water monster. So this is essentially like a mix between Gozen Match and There Can Be Only One, both of which are banned in this festival, by the way. So yeah, in our the last time I made a Umi Control deck profile for ranked Diamond, I had Gozen and There Can Be Only One, and obviously here I do not because those cards are banned for the festival. Which is funny because Gozen, you would think, would not need to be banned because most decks people are playing in this format are single attribute anyway. Like Salads is like all fire, Marines is like all water. I guess Virtual World is like mostly wind with like some earth. Medulce is all earth. So Was banning Gozen really necessary? I would argue not. I would argue that TC Boo is more effective. But anyway, let's read the other effect. During the main phase, you can add from your deck to your hand one Umi, one Kairishin spell trap, or one Sea Stealth spell trap. You can only use this effect of Ocean Lord Kairishin once per turn. So every turn you get to search a card, and there's a floodgate while it's on the field, so it's great. This will just like make your opponent instant scoop a lot of times. Other times, they'll attempt to play through it unsuccessfully. Next, we want 3 copies of Electric Jellyfish. This is probably your main starter, I would say. Jellyfish and Ocean Lord in hand is basically full combo. So let's read what this says. This is level 4, Water Aqua. Its effect says, you can send one Umi from your hand, deck, or face of field to graveyard. Special summon one water monster from your hand. When your opponent activates a monster effect or spell card or effect while Umi is on the field, quick effect, you can negate that effect. Then you can make this card gain 600 attack defense. Each effect is once per turn. So, 2 things. 1, monster spell negate. The 2 most popular cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! This is great. You just have need Umi on the field. 2, you can special summon. You can mill Umi, which is important because we'll get to later. And you can special summon any water monster from your hand, including Kairishin. Note, Kairishin is level 5, so typically you cannot normal summon Kairishin. Sometimes you can. Yeah, so you definitely... So if you open Jellyfish, Kairishin in hand, normal Jellyfish, mill Umi, summon Kairishin, and then Kairishin can search a card immediately. And you'll typically search Sea Stealth attack if you don't have it. So yeah, Jellyfish and Kairishin is a 2-card combo. That's very, very popular, easy to pull off, hardly even considered a combo. And if they max you, they draw 1 card off this. So who cares? All right. Next we're going to be running 1 copy of Doom Kraken. This card is cracked. It's a they should call this card Doom Cracked. And this card is a hand trap. So, I mean, it's a hand trap, and it's a battle phase attack negation. So let's read what this says. If Umi's on the field, quick effect, you can target 1 water monster you control, except Doom Kraken, and 1 monster your opponent controls. Special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, return that monster you control to the hand, and if you do that, destroy that opponent's monster. So basically, as a quick effect, you can bounce one of your monsters to destroy one of their monsters. Second effect, this says... when an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can return this card to hand if you do negate that attack. So each effect was once per turn. So this card's really good. Theoretically, you could use this to, let's say it's your opponent's battle phase, bounce one of your monsters to your hand, pop one of theirs, summon this, and when they declare an attack on you, you bounce this back to your hand to negate their attack. And then Doom Kraken can be used immediately on the next turn to pop another one of their cards. So this card is insanely good. Obviously, it requires setup, right? You need to have another monster to bounce. You need to have an Umi, right? So this is a one of because it is searchable, and you can summon this off of Dark Reef, which I'm going to get into later. Yeah, this card is great, and it's a level 4. So if you have Jellyfish and Doom Kraken, you don't have Umi, you can just make a rank 4 play, and we're going to get into that later in the extra deck portion. Yeah, this card is great. Next, we're running 1 copy of Fortress Whale, Mega Fortress Whale. So this card is really good. It's a level 7, so it's kind of bricky. You don't want to run more than 1 of these. If Umi's on the field, you can activate this effect. Your water monsters can attack directly this turn. So that means if your opponent is sitting on a tower being a monster that is unaffected by card effects and is a really big attack, hard to get over, what you can do is literally set up a board that includes Mega Fortress Whale, activate its effect, and just attack directly. Ignore the opponent's tower. They have a Marine Cess monster with the protection from Battle Ocean and Crystal Heart. You can just ignore it, attack directly. If they have Geomath Mech Final Sigma, you can ignore it, attack directly. So yeah, this is great. Second effect, during your opponent's battle phase, you can target a face of monster your opponent controls, destroy it. So that's cool. Just pops one of your opponent's monsters. And then third effect, if this card on the field is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can either add to your hand special summon a water warrior monster from your deck or graveyard. And of course, each effect is once per turn. So yeah, 2550 beater. It's a water monster, level 7. You can summon it off of Electric Jellyfish because its effect can special any monster, water monster from your hand. And you can also special summon off of Dark Reef, which is the most likely scenario that will come up. Yeah, one of those. We are running 1 copy of Maiden of the Aqua. This is definitely a necessary core. It's a one of. basically, while she's face up on the field and there's no field spell, she is Umi. So most of your monsters require Umi to be on the field. Sometimes you don't have access to Umi. Well, you have her. She is Umi on the field. She's level 4, which means you can technically go into a rank 4 play with Kraken or Electric Jellyfish. But basically, the way Dark Reef interacts, Dark Reef removes Umi from your field and specials 2 monsters from the deck, right? So if you don't have Umi after that happens, then you can literally bring her out and another monster like Kyroshin, and now you have Umi with Kyroshin, and you can floodgate out your opponent. So, yeah, she's absolutely mandatory. Sometimes I see Umi Control players not run her, and they are out of their minds. Like, this is insanely good. You need to have her, because sometimes Dark Reef will just get rid of your Umi, and you need to have an Umi, and you can bring her out as an Umi for Dark Reef. So, yeah, please run her. She's amazing. And in fact, let's say you open Maiden with Doom Kraken, you can normal Maiden, and then Doom Kraken is immediately live. So, yeah, it's definitely worth keeping Maiden. She's really freaking good. Please run her. And she's cheap. She's a normal. There's no excuse not to run her. Next, we are running 2 copies of, well, Warrior of Atlantis. So this card reads, discard this card to graveyard, add a Legendary Ocean from your deck to your hand. So Legendary Ocean is Umi everywhere. So basically this searches your Umi. You have 2 of them. It's not once per turn. You use this, you get ashed. You use another one, and you can get Umi. So why not run 3? Kind of overkill. As we'll get into later, we have so many copies of Umi, I don't really think we need any more. Also, this is a level 4, 1900 attack. You can make a rank 4 play, you can summon him, attack over something. Like, he's pretty solid. Not just as a searcher for a Legendary Ocean. But, yeah, just 2 more copies of Legendary Ocean, essentially. Speaking of Legendary Ocean, before we get into the spells, 1 copy of Skull Mariner. This card is cracked. It's so good. So if you've watched my previous Umi Control video from my Diamond one that I usually climb ranked, I explain in detail why this card. So I recommend, you know, all Umi Control decks run a vanilla water monster because of how great, how well you can extend into a normal water monster, which can just open up avenues, which I'll explain later. But basically, Skull Mariner, in my opinion, is the best one because it fulfills 3 niches. 1, it is a level 4 water monster, which means you can go into rank 4 plays with any of these other monsters. Jellyfish, Kraken, Warrior of Atlantis, Maiden. Number 2, it's a warrior monster. Remember Fortress Whale? Fortress Whale says, when it's destroyed, you can special a water warrior from your deck or graveyard, right? So when Fortress Whale dies, you get a warrior immediately, right? And this is a warrior, right? So it fulfills the vanilla, and it fulfills the warrior monster, and it also fulfills both Fish Sonar and Dark Reef, which I'll explain later. But yeah, I'll be referencing this card throughout this video, but very important that you play Skull Mariner. It's great. Some people like to play Gaga Gigo. No. Play this one. Because it'll always be the same level as your Jellyfish. And you can normal summon it, right? Like, it's good. It fulfills it fills in a lot of blanks. Like, some people like to run Gaga Gigo, or like the ice barrier dude, Raiho or whatever. No, you don't need any of that. Just play this one, because again, all those cards I mentioned are bricks. This is technically a brick, but it's less bricky because Gaga Gigo you can't summon, right? Normally, whereas you can literally normal summon this guy, right? And this, rather than running multiple bricks to fulfill different niches, you run one quote unquote brick that basically fulfills all the roles, right? So yeah, run Skull Mariner. Trust me, you will not regret it. This is a great card. Arguably the best card in this deck. Lol. Plus, you know, imagine your opponent when they see you bring this out and they're like, "What the f? You're actually playing this garbage card from 2001 or whatever?" Yes, it's because it's amazing. All right, next. Can we get into the spells? Yeah, I guess this is like the end of the monster core. There's other cards I'm going to talk about that are not so core that you can theoretically cut. But let's get into other core cards. Legendary Ocean. We're running 3 copies of Legendary Ocean. No exceptions. This is your Umi. This card is great. All water monsters in the field gain 200 attack defense. Reduce the level of all water monsters in both players' hands and on the field by 1. So if you have Legendary Ocean with Kyroshin, Kyroshin becomes a level 4, you can normal summon him. If you have Legendary Ocean and Mega Fortress Will, this becomes level 6, you can tribute summon this with 1 tribute. Legendary Ocean will make all your level 4s into level 3s, and you can make a rank 3 play. We do run a rank 3, right? And this also affects your opponent. So if your opponent is playing like a Shark deck relies on making rank 4s, they can't make rank 4s because all their monsters become level 3, right? If you're against Sword Soul, Moye becomes level 3, Sword Soul Token becomes level 3. They can't do Synchro 10 or Synchro 8 plays anymore. They're stuck on Synchro 6 or Synchro 7 or possibly Synchro 9. It's just awkward for Sword Soul, right? Yeah, run 3 of these. You essentially have 5 copies because of War of Atlantis. You need to have Umi on the field, otherwise your deck doesn't work or do anything. So, speaking of Umi on the field, we're running 3 copies of Sea Stealth 2. Let's read what this says. This card's name becomes Umi while on the field in the graveyard. 3 more copies of Umi. Again, we need Umi on the field. Sea Stealth 2 is really good because it's a continuous spell that reads, your opponent cannot target water monster you control with non-water monster effects. That's cool. At the start of the battle phase, you can special summon from your hand or graveyard 1 monster that mentions Umi, or 1 water normal monster in defense position, but destroy at the end of the phase. So, water normal monster like Skull Mariner, yeah, Skull Mariner, that fulfills the niche. So you can revive any of these monsters here, or you can from your graveyard or special from hand, or you can revive a special Skull Mariner, right? But then it says destroyed at the end of the battle phase. We'll only use this effect once per turn. So this card is good. It's really good. We essentially are looking at 8 copies of Umi. So hopefully you will definitely be seeing Umi on your field. And both of these cards, by the way, Ocean and Sea Stealth 2, are searchable off of Kyroshin. So if you have Kyroshin on the field, you can literally search these. So Kyroshin's Floodgate effect only works if Umi's on the field. Its effect to search does not require Umi. Fortress Well's effect to pop in battle phase does not require Umi. But, you know, the attack directly does require Umi. Doom Kraken can negate attacks without Umi, but it can only pop as a hand trap with Umi. Jellyfish can only negate monster and spells with Umi, but without Umi, it can special monsters from hand. So almost all your monsters have an effect if Umi's up, and effect when Umi is not up, or it doesn't matter if Umi's up, right? So, yeah. Cool. So let's go into 3 copies of Fish Sonar. This card is cracked, even though it's once per turn. We are running 3. So let's read what it says. Add a level 7 lower monster from your deck to your hand that mentions Umi or is a water normal monster. So guess what? That's all our monsters, including Skull Mariner, folks. Yeah, so we basically have 6 copies of Kyroshin thanks to this, right? Let's read what else it says. Then, if Umi is on the field, you can special a water normal monster from your deck, right? So, literally, this will get out Skull Mariner for free, assuming you have Umi, right? So that means Fish Sonar with any Umi, either Legendary Ocean or Sea Stealth 2, is full board. What does that mean? Activate Ocean or Sea Stealth 2, activate Fish Sonar. Fish Sonar will search Kyroshin to your hand and special Skull Mariner from deck. Kyroshin is a level 5 under Sea Stealth 2. Tribute Skull Mariner for Kyroshin, and then Kyroshin searches. That's full board right there. If you have Legendary Ocean, you can just normal the Kyroshin, and then you have Skull Mariner to act as fodder for Sea Stealth 2, Sea Stealth attack. But also, it's just another body, right? So, if you have a Doom Kraken in hand and don't want to bounce your Kyroshin, yeah. So, again, Fish Sonar, Skull Mariner is going to fulfill all your needs, all your freaking needs, right? Every card I've talked about, which mentions a water normal monster or a water warrior monster or whatever, Skull Mariner fulfills that niche. So, please play it. It's really good. And yeah, 3 Fish Sonar. Yeah, it's great. If you already have Jellyfish and Kyroshin, Fish Sonar will probably go into Doom Kraken because it's your hand trap that's like really good. So, all right, next we want to have 3 copies of Sea Stealth Attack. So this card is cracked. In fact, if you have none of these, if your hand does not have any of these so all these spell traps are searchable off of Kyroshin except for Fish Sonar. But if you don't have Sea Stealth, like if Kyroshin is searching for the first time and you don't already have Sea Stealth Attack, you almost always search Sea Stealth Attack. Why? Let's see what it says. When this card is activated, you can activate an Umi from your hand or graveyard. So if you have an Umi in your graveyard, you can activate it. Wait, why would there be an Umi in your graveyard? Oh wait, remember Jellyfish? Jellyfish sends Umi from deck to graveyard. So there you go. You can literally, If you have Jellyfish and Sea Stealth, you have an Umi on the field. So when you flip this card for the first time, you activate Umi from graveyard or hand. Then, while Umi's on the field, you have the following 2 effects. For effect number 1, once per turn, and note this is once per turn per card, which means Sea Stealth attack is not a hard once per turn. So if you have 2 Sea Stealth on the field, or 3, you can use this effect 2 or however many times based on the number of cards. So this says, once per turn, banish a water monster you control until the end phase. This turn, face-up spell traps you control cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects, even if this card leaves the field. So if your opponent tries to Harpies you, Lightning Storm you, Feather Dust, like whatever, you can chain Sea Stealth attack, banish one of your water monsters, and then your back row is protected. Only face-up cards, but guess what? Most of these cards are face-up. Ocean is face-up. Sea Stealth 2 is face-up. This is face-up, so it'll protect your back row. So this deck doesn't need Lord of the Heavenly Prison because you're rarely protecting set cards or care about your set cards because almost all your back row will be face-up, right? The second effect. At the start of the damage step, if your water monster whose original level is 5 or higher battles an opponent's monster, destroy that opponent's monster. So if you have Kyroshin and Sea Stealth attack on the field, they can never kill Kyroshin unless they attack it with a monster that can't be destroyed or is affected by card effects. Yeah, this is a mandatory effect. So they try to attack your Kyroshin, you pop it, bam, gone, done, right? Not once per turn. By the way, folks, Sea Stealth attack, the fact that it banishes a water monster for cost until the end phase means it's really, really good for dodging Imperm, for dodging Evenly Matched, for dodging Droplet, right? If they're trying to target or like do something to your field and you want one of your monsters to not get targeted or like to dodge that effect or not get destroyed or whatever, use this to banish it until the end phase. It'll come back, right? So if you have Evenly Matched, let's say they evenly match you. You have Kyroshin, you have Ocean, Legendary Ocean, you have this card. If they evenly match you, before they end their battle phase, Sea Stealth sends Kyroshin away, keep Legend, and then they evenly match you, you get rid of this card, you keep Ocean. Ocean will stay on the field, it will possibly floodgate any water monsters they may have, and then Kyroshin returns on end phase because they can't OTK you if they evenly matched, right? And then Kyroshin with Ocean will immediately clear their field, and because Ocean is a face-up spell trap, after you use Sea Stealth to send Kyroshin away, even if this card leaves the field, Ocean will be protected from destruction effects. So they can only get rid of it if they banish it or send it to the graveyard with like a Zeus type effect, right? So yeah, Sea Stealth attack is great. Use this to save your Kyroshin from evenly match, and then on end phase, Kyroshin will come back, and then your opponent's monsters will be cleared, and then Kyroshin can immediately search a new Sea Stealth attack or whatever. So Kyroshin will rebuild your board. So evenly matched, not as big a deal, but obviously it can be depending on how cracked your opponent's hand is. So yeah, 3 copies of Sea Stealth attack. Sometimes you want to hard draw it. Sometimes you want to search it. Yeah, it's just an amazing card. It's so good. And it's not once per turn. Next, we have 2 copies of Kyroshin's Dark Reef. So this card is obviously searchable off Kyroshin. The reason we want to run 3 copies, so technically, you can only use 1 Dark Reef per turn. It's not a hard one per turn. So if they negate it, the activation with like Barone, you can use the second one. But yeah, so 2 of is pretty good because sometimes you want to hard draw it. So let's read what this says. Send a face-up Umi control to graveyard. Special summon 2 monsters with different names from your hand or deck that mentions Umi or a water monster, or water normal monsters in the defense position. Then, if your opponent controls a monster, you can special summon any number of level 6 or lower water normal monster from your hand and or deck. So guess what? That includes Skull Mariner. Note, every single card in this deck pretty much brings out Skull Mariner. So please play Skull Mariner. It's better than Giga Gaga Gigo or the whatever fish, right? Oh, wrong card. So sometimes you only have 1 Umi, and if you activate this card and send your 1 copy of Umi away, you won't have Umi anymore. So what do? What you do is you can special 2 monsters from your deck. One of those monsters you special will be Maiden of the Aqua, because Maiden of the Aqua is Umi on the field, and then the second card you'll summon, assuming you don't have Kyroshin, you'll summon Kyroshin, and then they're floodgated, right? So very important that you need Maiden of the Aqua just in case Dark Reef gets rid of your only copy of Umi, right? So very important. Sometimes, if you already have Umi or don't care about that, sometimes you bring out a second Kyroshin. That way, if they imperm one of your Kyroshins, the other one is still active. Or if they negate or pop one of your Kyroshins, the other one is still active. So, yeah, if you bring out 2 Kyroshins, harder for your opponent to deal with. But obviously, if you bring out a second Kyroshin and your opponent is playing a water deck, like, he's going to be a lot less effective than bringing out like a Fortress Whale, for example, or your Doom Kraken. So just keep that in mind. So I would say this is the core. these are cards that you should absolutely be playing. Don't play fewer than these ratios. If you want to play a third Dark Reef, that's kind of weird. If you want to play a third Warrior of Atlantis, it's kind of weird. If you want to swap Skull Mariner for something else, the only other monster I would recommend, if you really want to, is this monster called Magical Libra. So let's read what this says. It's a normal pendulum monster. So basically, it's level 4, and it can be special summoned off of all these cards except for Fortress Whale, because it's not a warrior, right? So the reason you would want to possibly play Magical Libra is because it's a tuner, and with Magical Libra, you can go into Synchro 6 or Synchro 8 plays, right? You don't have to, like, you know, if you own the Synchro monsters that are good Synchro 6, Synchro 8 monsters, you can do this. But I don't think it's necessary. I'd rather have Skull Mariner because it's a higher attack. It's a warrior, so you can special it off of Fortress Whale. And I didn't want to craft Adamantipator Risen, which is an ultra rare. I mean, I could probably afford it because I have the crafting material, but I don't really want to. If you want to craft Adamantipator Dragite, then you can play this card instead of Skull Mariner, and then suddenly you have a level 4 tuner that's easily special, right? So, you know, it's up to you, but yeah. So if you want to replace Skull Mariner, replace it with Magical Libra, but only if you run the Synchro package. If you don't run the Synchro package, don't bother. Okay. All right. This is the core. So now I'm going to talk about optional supplemental cards. So optional supplemental cards include 1 copy of Ice Barrier, 1 copy of Foolish Burial Goods, and 1 copy of Gamma Seal. So let's read. So why would you want to play Foolish Burial Goods? Well, first of all, this mills a spell trap. Guess what? If you have Sea Stealth Attack, which can activate Umi from your graveyard, you can literally Foolish Burial Goods Umi, like Legendary Ocean or Sea Stealth 2, and then Sea Stealth Attack will activate it from your graveyard. So that's one application. Second is Ice Barrier. So let's read what this says. Normal trap. When an attack is declared involving your opponent's monster, change that opponent's monster attack to 0, negate its effects. Also, it cannot change its battle position. So that's one effect. So if your opponent attempts to crash one of your monsters, you can Ice Barrier on damage calc, and then their monster dies, pretty much. But the second effect is the most interesting one. You can banish this card from your graveyard. Send 1 level 5 or higher water monster from your deck to your graveyard. Then you can add 1 water monster from your graveyard to your hand. Also, until the end of your turn after this card, you can ask for someone else to have water monsters. So, level 5 or higher water monster. So what are your targets? Kyroshin is a target, Fortress Whale is a target, and Gamma Seal is a target. That's right. You can literally search Gamma Seal off of this. So if you open Foolish Burial Goods, you can mill Ice Barrier. Ice Barrier can search you Kyroshin or Gamma Seal. So yeah, we have a searchable kaiju, folks. Also, this card sends a level 5 or higher water monster in your deck. But then when you add a monster from your graveyard to your hand, you don't have to add the same monster you mill. So technically, you can recycle Gamma Seal. So if you already used Gamma Seal and got outed, you can send something else like Kyroshin and then bring Gamma Seal back and use it again. So pretty good card. Some people like to play 2 of these with 2 Foolish Burial Goods. I did start playing with 2, but then I cut it down to 1 because I wanted to put other cards in this deck. But if you want to play 2 Ice Barrier, 2 Foolish Burial Goods, be my guest. I would not fault you for that, but do not play more than 2. That is unnecessary. Especially since this Ice Barrier can be very bricky, right? Cool. So let's get into... So that is optional core. Or optional cards that are important. So let's get into other cards that I think are kind of very important that are not part of the Umi Control archetype. 1 copy of Proud Prosperity. If this card was a 3 of, we'd be playing 3 because, again, even though this is a control deck, we do want to... Sometimes we really need to see one specific card. Unfortunately, Prosperity is limited to 1 in Master Duel. And we are running 2 copies of Pot of Extravagance for the times when we don't have Prosperity. It just nets 2 cards, right? Just draws you. At least helps you see Engine. In my ranked list of Umi Control, the last one I made, this was a 1 of because we had other cards that we want to fit on our deck. But we don't really have that issue here, so I'm running 2. You can cut this down to 1 if you want to fit other cards. That's fine. Yeah, pretty good. Let's talk about tech. So We have 8 slots in our deck for optional tech. You can exchange these however you want. I am running 3 copies of Evenly Matched. This card is just really good. You're going second. You blow out your opponent's board. They either have a negate with Barone or they negate with maybe Salamangreat Roar. Either way, you bait the negate or you clear their board. So very good. Very good against Rika. Rika doesn't have a Omni negate, right? Good against, you know, just generic back row. Good against Marine Cess, unless they made Argonaut. Yeah, it's just a good card. Next, we are running 2 copies of Max C, 2 copies of Duel and Lockbird. So Max C is just, you know, going second or first. Oh, just draw a bunch of cards. We love drawing cards in this deck because we want to see engine, and we have a lot of ways to out our opponent's board. If you're going second, Legendary Ocean plus Kyroshin is a clear board, unless they're Marine Cess, right? You activate Ocean, if they don't get rid of it, you normal Kyroshin, their board is cleared. GG, right? So Maxi will help you see that, or if you're going second, Maxi will end your opponent's turn prematurely because they don't want you to draw, and then you set up your floodgate on your turn, and then they scoop anyway, right? So Maxi is good. Droll is a floodgate hand trap. This is literally a floodgate, which is funny because you'll never know it because r/masterduel never talks about this card, but this card is a floodgate. As much as the mouthbreathers, you know, the single brain-celled cretins over at r/masterduel will spend all day bitching about floodgates. They'll never mention this card, even though it is a floodgate. So yeah. Go ahead and play this again. So the reason I switched to Droll, so I was originally running Dark Hole Raigeki. The reason I switched to Droll is because some of the hardest matchups are against decks that search a lot. Virtual World is probably the hardest deck to deal with, going second. But Virtual World gets significantly crippled / hampered by Droll because they have to search a lot. Especially if they're running the adventure package, then they search a ton, and Droll will end their turn, either in either immediately or in a suboptimal state, right? Qinglong searches, the Jie or whatever searches. They have a few other cards that search. I think Lulu searches, right? All the adventure cards search. So Stardust Charge Warrior draws them a card, which is technically can trigger Droll, right? There's a lot of searching going on in Virtual World, and this will stop it. Against Salamangreat, depends if they like Signet Mining and then you Droll immediately, or Pod Desires and Droll. Yeah, their deck is they'll probably kill their turn, or like they'll end significantly weaker. Marine Cess probably the most resilient to Droll, just because they really only need one search most of the time, which is a search off of Sea Angel, right? Other than that, they're not searching that often. So, but yeah, I just think Droll is a great card. It's a floodgate, right? This goes in other floodgates that goes in CCBU are banned in this format. Why not run more floodgates? And the final card, 1 copy of Lightning Storm. I only own 1 because I don't want to craft more. Basically, it's just back row clear for the most part. But also, it can be front row clear because there's a lot of link decks, and link decks are monsters in attack positions, right? But back row clear, you wanted to get rid of Marine Cess, Battle Ocean, and whatever. The wave, right? Against Salamander, you want to get rid of Roar and Rage, right? Or at least bait it, right? There's a number of back against Virtual War. You want to get rid of Chuche, right? Chuche is super annoying, right? So Lightning Storm is good. In fact, if you own 3 copies of Lightning Storm, feel free to cut like 1 extra and put in a second Lightning Storm. That's what I would do. If I had a second copy of Lightning Storm, I'd put in that second copy and cut extra, 1 extra. So you'll probably be good to go. But yeah, this card came in handy, as you'll see in the Adventures of video. Yeah, a lot of annoying back row in this format against Madolche. Yeah, they have their Madolche Promenade, right, which also is annoying back row. But also all their spells like Madolche Salon, Madolche Chateau, whatever. Great to just get rid of. Yeah. So and if they don't have back row, maybe you can just take out their front row, right? Because again, Link monsters will be in attack position. So anyway, that's the main deck. You'll definitely be able to climb with this in the festival, get your certificate, whatever, get your rewards. And like I said, I already suggested some tweaks that you can make that will be reasonable, but I'd say this is a pretty solid deck. Extra deck. Let's get into the extra deck. First, we will start with our rank 4s. So we are running the Stealth Kraken package. 2 copies of number 4 Sea Stealth Kraken. 2 copies of Stealth Kraken Spawn. So this is a rank 4. It's really good. Basically, any, if you don't have Karshin or you want to annoy your opponent, you make this. Every main phase, you can pop one of your opponent's monsters and burn them for half their attack. If they out this monster, they destroy this monster, then this monster will summon 2 of these guys from your extra deck, and each of these can pop, a water monster your opponent controls, right? So the other one can pop water monsters, but it turns all your opponents into water monsters. This one can pop water monsters, but does not turn your opponent water monster. But if your opponent destroys these cards, this can revive Stealth Kraken. So it's a very annoying little loop. The reason I run 2 of each is because we're running pots, right? And we don't want to banish the 1 copy. I mean, I do own 3, I guess, so theoretically I could own 3, but I never felt like I needed more than 2, right? Because of my pots. So yeah, this is fine. 1 copy of Baguska. This is a floodgate. Tier players, r/masterduel players will not have you believe that, because again, they only care about floodgates that are purple. Why? Because their little combo brains and combo decks run cards like Imperm and whatever, Valor, whatever, that is good against a monster floodgate like this, right? Oh, just Imperm, right? But they're not going to run a Cosmic Cyclone to deal with TC Boo or Skill Drain, right? So rather than changing their deck to include those cards, right, they'd rather bitch about it on Reddit and try to get Konami to ban it, even though like almost every one of those whiny little babies who whine about floodgates, especially the tier players, will play Baguska, right? So yeah, hilarious hypocrisy on their part. Speaking of hilarious hypocrisy, another card we run that is a floodgate that combo players will not talk about and tier players will never complain about is Abyss Dweller. Abyss Dweller is a floodgate. There aren't that many graveyard decks in this deck, but yeah, in this festival, but sometimes it'll come up. But if not, guess what? Abyss Dweller says all water monsters you control gain 500 attack. So you have this, you have Ocean, you suddenly have 700 attack boosts on your monsters, and then Jellyfish increases attack by 600. You got a lot of big boys going on in this deck. So yeah, if you just have some extra bodies, you want to make a rank 4, make Abyss Dweller. Why not? And sometimes it'll stop your opponent. Actually, against Salad, this would be pretty good against Salad because they have a lot of graveyard effects, right? Again, it's a floodgate, but r/masterduel players would not have you believe that, and they'll never call for this card to be banned. Same with the Baguska, because they're hypocrites, right? Next, let's get into more rank 4s. We are running. What else are we running? We are running Nash Knight. So let's read what this card says. So 2 level 5 monsters. So you can make this with 2 Kyrishins. Cannot be destroyed by battle while a number of monsters on the field. During the main phase, you can detach 2 materials from this card. Attach 1 number XP monster from your extra deck to this card as material that has a number between a 101 and 107 in its name. Then you can attach 1 other face-up monster to the field this card's material. So if you're dealing with an opponent's monster that cannot be targeted or destroyed by card effects, for example, Blackluster Soldier, Soldier of Chaos, it's an Earth monster, right? You can attach it to this card. So this is an out for some of those other towers that are not unaffected by card effects, but are just annoying to out. So to run this, we also want to run, what's it called? I think it's number 101. Silent Honor Arc, which basically fulfills the requirements of Nash Knight. Also, Silent Honor Arc is a rank 4, which says detach 2 materials from this card, target 1 of your opponent's special summon monsters, and face-up attack position attached to this card's material. So there's another way to deal with monsters that cannot be destroyed by card effects, but can be targeted, right? But also, this can be used as material for Nash Knight. I think maybe it's number. Hold on. Number. Oh, we're running number. Hold on. Where's the other one? The other one was. What was it? Number this one. Okay, number 103. Ragna 0, rank 4, and also it fulfills the requirements of Nash Knight. This reads. Once per turn, the other player to detach 1 XP material from this card. Target face-up attack position opponent controls, whose current attack is different from its original attack. Destroy it. And if you do, draw 1 card. This didn't really come up often. Technically, in the mirror match, this would be hilarious, right? Because Umi Control, Legendary Ocean will make in the mirror match and sometimes in a Marine Cess matchup. you know your opponent's monster will have more attack, and then you can just pop it and draw a card. That's kind of funny. But also, this is a number monster between 101 and 107, so it fulfills the requirements of Nash Knight. I never actually made Silent Honor Arc or a Nash Knight, Ragnar Zero. So if you don't want to spend UR on this one, you don't have to. So you can get rid of that. Next, we are running number 37. This one is called Hope Woven Dragon Spider Shark. What a mouthful of a name. 2 level 4 water monster. When an opponent's monster can attack, detach exceed material. All monster your opponent controls lose 1,000 attack. When this card is destroyed by a battle card effect, target another monster in your graveyard, special summon it. So, yeah, this never came up, but you know it could. Obviously, it's an SR. If you don't want to spend the material, that's fine. What else? Yeah, so those are all our rank 4s. We are running one rank 3. The one rank 3 we're running is Super Quantum Mech Beast Grand Pulse. So we're running this because Legendary Ocean will make our water monsters level 3, our level 4s into level 3s. Grand Pulse is a great card because A, it can become 3,000 defense under Legendary Ocean. This card says you can attach an exceed material to this card, target a spell trap on the field, destroy it. So if you need to out an annoying spell trap your opponent controls, like for example, Marine says Battle Ocean, or maybe your Salamangreat Roar, or Salamangreat Sanctuary, you can pop it, or maybe Virtual World Chuche, you can pop it with this card. So yeah, it's back row clear. It's good to have. This is the only rank 3 we're running because we don't have access to Zeus in this mode. Otherwise, we'd probably be running Fortune Tune, right? So yeah, so let's get into the Link monsters. We are running Area, the Water Charmer, Gentle. You're gonna see a lot of Marine Cess matchups. Link away to your water monsters, steal one of their water monsters in the graveyard, and now you have 3 monsters, right? So yeah, against Marine Cess, you can steal their rank 4 or their Link 4 if it's in the graveyard. Do some damage, right? So just a good extender. And if this card is destroyed, add a water monster 1,500 less defense from your deck to your hand. 1,500 less defense, like let's see who fulfills that. Warrior of Atlantis, and Skull Mariner. I think that's about it. Yep. Yeah, this effect's never gonna come up. We are running one copy of Marine Cess Coral Anemone. Link 2 water monsters. Target a water monster with 1,500 less attack in your graveyard. Special summon it to a zone this card points to. Guess what? This can revive Jellyfish because 1,400 attack. Doom Kraken can be revived. 1,400 attack. Maiden of the Aqua can be revived. If you need an Umi, revive her, right? So yeah, pretty solid. We are running one copy of Abyss Dweller. This card, not Abyss Dweller, Abyss Keeper. This card never came up, but essentially 2 water monsters. When it's Link summoned, special summon a fish monster in your hand to a zone this card points to. What fish monsters do you have? Mega Fortress Whale, and that's about it. So you can special summon Mega Fortress Whale by just linking away two bodies, right? Then it says you can target one other fish monster you control, one card your opponent control, banish those cards. So you can, if you need it, really get rid of one of your opponent's cards without destroying it. You can banish your Fortress Will and their card, right, under Abyss Keeper. And finally, the last card we are running is Marine Cess. Whoops. Where is it? The Link 3. Marbled Rock. So if you Link Climb using either Area of the Water Charmer or Coral Anemone, you can summon this. It's a 2,500 beater. And when you you can also recycle Coral Anemone from your graveyard back into your extra deck to use it for future. So yeah, so 2,500 attack, 27 under Ocean. Just a big body. I think I summoned this thing once to attack over or something. Yeah, it doesn't really do much else. In fact, you don't have to run this card if you don't want to, because it doesn't come up often. Most of the time, if you're using Pot of Prosperity, you're banishing all your links. So, and one of your Stealth Kroggans. And then probably like Ragnar Zero or Sonar, whatever. So that's my extra deck. Now, I briefly hinted at some synchros that you can run. So if you decide to Magical Libra, if you decide to run Magical Libra instead of Skull Mariner, what you do is you take out Skull Mariner, you put in Magical Libra, and then you put in White Aura Dolphin, Synchro 6. You put in White Aura Whale, Synchro 8, and you put in Risen, Adamantipator, Dragite, Risen, which I don't own. So these 3 synchros can be easily accessed off of Magical Libra. So if you own Risen and you don't own, let's say you own Risen and you don't own very many of these rank 4s. Let's say you don't want to spend gems on these rank 4s. You can, because these synchros are cheap. Risen's the only expensive one. You can cut some of these rank 4s and run the synchro package with Magical Libra. So that is an option that you have because it's a tuner, right? But I didn't do it because I don't have Risen and I don't want to spend gems on Risen because I don't play any decks that use it. But Risen's a very good card. It's literally a spell trap negate. Can stop evenly matched. Can stop a lot of things. Raigeki, right? All you have to do is have a water monster in the graveyard, which you will absolutely have. So yeah. Feel free to do that if you wish, but I did not. I instead prefer to keep my trusty Skull Mariner and my XEs. So anyway, if you really want to run both, you can cut a few of these XEs. Maybe cut the Ragna Zero and Nash Knight. Put in those synchros, right? You can do something like this: run Magical Libra, and then run those synchros. White Aura Dolphin, White Aura Whale, and Risen. Adamantipator Risen. And then there you go. You can just have the best of both worlds if you really want to. You're just going to be running one more vanilla, which you might not want to do. But then again, a vanilla that fulfills multiple cards. So if you already use Skull Mariner, you can use this one, and vice versa. So yeah, so that is an idea if you really want to do that. So yeah, so Ragna Zero, Silent Honor Arc. And I had, what was it? Nash Knight. Alright, so anyway. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed and learned something. See you in the next video. Peace.